I'm Adrienne Pedersen in Kenosha. Today on Upfront, police reform.
It's scary being a black person living in a community full of white officers.
Kenosha residents tell us what's needed after the police shooting of Jacob Blake. The State Police Association is trying to lead the way.
We need to really come back together and have a reasonable discourse and a candid discourse.
Plus, a demand for justice.
No one cares what side of the aisle you're on. We care that we get reform and we get justice.
A leader in Kenosha. I'm Adrienne Pedersen in Kenosha. Today on Upfront, police reform.
It's scary being a black person living in a community full of white officers.
Kenosha residents tell us what's needed after the police shooting of Jacob Blake. The State Police Association is trying to lead the way.
We need to really come back together and have a reasonable discourse and a candid discourse.
Plus, a demand for justice.
No one cares what side of the aisle you're on. We care that we get reform and we get justice.
A leader in Kenosha's black community on what will start the healing process. And President Donald Trump and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden both visit the city. Our Matt Smith will join us to break down the campaign visits.
Taking on the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Upfront with your host, Adrienne Pedersen.
Thank you for joining us. We're back in Kenosha today for the latest in the story that has rocked the country, the police shooting of Jacob Blake 2 weeks ago. I want to show you what's behind me. So here on my right, this was the Danish Brotherhood Lodge. Now history destroyed, records gone, reduced to a pile of rubble. Then if you look here on my left, this used to be a mattress store. 2 of the dozens of businesses damaged or destroyed in the riots and fires that followed the shooting. Part of the conversation this past week turned to police reform. So in a minute, we'll hear from a group that wants to lead the way on this important topic. But first, I asked some people here in Kenosha what they think of their police department. Several told me it's time for change.
Well, they racist, but we need the police, just need to wing out the bad cops.
We definitely need to look at the policies and procedures as it relates to use of force by our police department, and that is happening right now.
Yeah, overall, this job is very tough, and I got to give them credit. Got to give them credit for what they do.
Body cams, I mean, if we have those things, it helps enlighten situations that we didn't know anything about, and the fact that we don't have them here is, I mean, kind of ridiculous.
A Wisconsin police group says it has become the first in the country to offer a detailed plan for police reforms. The Wisconsin Professional Police Association put out a 24-point plan last week. The plan includes uniform statewide policies on use of force, a ban on chokeholds, a call for body cameras for every police force in the state, and riot penalties for people who intentionally take part in violence or destruction. So we're talking now with WPPA Executive Director Jim Palmer. We appreciate your time, and I've been looking through this blueprint, as you call it. It is 14 pages. Why come out with this police reform now?
Well, following the tragic death of George Floyd in Minneapolis in May, I think we've seen nationally and even in Wisconsin, the topic of police reform come to the forefront of the American consciousness like never before. We really wanted to come together and play a proactive and assertive role in driving the dialogue rather than constantly having to be in a responsive posture. And, Wisconsin and its law enforcement community has a proud history of being a pioneer when it comes to police reform. Wisconsin was the first state in the nation in 2014 to mandate the independent investigations of officer-involved deaths by outside agencies. And the law enforcement community here was an integral part of that new law.
And as you know, the governor wanted a special session. The Bucks have tried with this. They want police reform. Why do you think you could have some success here?
Well, one of the things that's been actually a little bit troubling, particularly since the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, is we've seen the public discourse that surrounds policing really become more intense and more polarizing. And we believe that's a dynamic that doesn't serve the public well, and it certainly doesn't serve law enforcement officers well. We need to really come back together and have a reasonable discourse and a candid discourse on ways that we can move forward that benefit both the public and law enforcement alike. We felt that we were in a unique position to help drive that discussion. And so we wanted to play a proactive role in putting forth some ideas that we think have some merit. One of the biggest proposals in there that we support is statewide proliferation of body-worn cameras by law enforcement agencies throughout the state. More needs to be done at both the state and the federal levels to support that critical technology.
And how would body cameras have changed, do you think, how this investigation goes forward with Jacob Blake? As you know, the Kenosha police officers were not wearing body cameras.
That's exactly right. And it highlights, I think, how critical and critically important body-worn cameras are. Because I think regardless, here we have in Wisconsin this unique law that only 3 states in the country have that mandates an independent investigation by an outside agency. It's a very transparent and independent and objective investigative process that we have, and we're fortunate to have it here in Wisconsin. Unfortunately, because of the lack of body-worn cameras, I fear that the outcome, the credibility of the outcome of that investigative process will be diminished. And that's unfortunate, and I think it's avoidable. And it's something that I think law enforcement agencies across the state are exploring more seriously. There has been a proliferation of body-worn cameras across the state in the last 5-6 years, and we would expect that to escalate considerably.
We had Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes here on Upfront last weekend, and he told me that he thinks that it'd be good for police officers to have these reforms, that it would make their job easier and safer. But I think others assume that it would make it harder, that you don't want these reforms. So explain.
Well, we've tried to come up with a number of proposals, as you mentioned, 14 pages worth, detailed proposals that we think will benefit both the public and law enforcement alike, that will strengthen the profession, and that will really strengthen also the relationship that our officers have with the communities they serve. It is a very detailed and comprehensive set of proposals, and we tried to come about it thoughtfully. And one of our driving ambitions is not only to see some action, but to really bring the public discourse that surrounds policing to a more reasonable tone. We've seen our leaders at every level, whether it's Governor Evers, President Trump, or Vice President Biden, make certain statements that are disconcerting to us. We have to avoid painting law enforcement with a broad brush, and we have to avoid the tendency to jump to conclusions and render judgment while an investigation is ongoing. And that's true if we're talking about protesters or police officers.
And who did you get input from to put this together? Have you talked to people in the community, and specifically people of color, about how they feel about these things?
We have. Probably the best example is I had a series of very candid discussions with State Representative Lakeisha Myers, who's, as you know, the chair of the Black Caucus. And she was very thoughtful, and her feedback, I think, was critical. But we talked to lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, and we also talked to master use of force instructors and others and other experts to make sure that we were being as thoughtful as possible and putting forward some reforms that we believe will make sense.
And I know you've seen this video of Kenosha police shooting Jacob Blake, and I want to get your professional opinion. Can you think of any justification from what we've seen in the video in terms of a police officer shooting someone in the back 7 times?
I think it's possible. I think, I hate to hypothesize on these types of things, and we as an organization caution people against doing so. To the extent that Mr. Blake had a weapon in his possession, we don't know what he may have said as he, if anything, as he approached the driver's side of that vehicle. We really don't have enough information to say. I think that it is possible that that information could come out as a result of this investigation that helps put the outcome into better context.
Do you understand, though, the outrage that this would happen, especially with someone with their back turned?
Absolutely. And I think it's okay to empathize with how people react to these types of things. And at the same time, stand up for the incredibly difficult and dangerous job that law enforcement officers have to perform. And that's really something that we're missing in this state and in this country at every level, frankly. And that is some nuance that, that reflects the fact that it's okay to support the cause for social justice and at the same time support law enforcement and their vital role, the vital role that they play in keeping our communities safe. Right now, we've become so increasingly polarized, and it seems to be one or the other. And it doesn't have to be that way. And we hope that our proposals in a blueprint for change reflect that.
All right. Well, Jim Palmer, I really appreciate your willingness to have this extended discussion with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
The State Department of Justice is still investigating the Blake shooting. So far, they're not giving a lot of details about it. The Illinois teenager prosecutors charged with killing 2 protesters here remains in Illinois. Wisconsin is trying to extradite him. There is concern about more trouble in Kenosha. Next on Upfront, a leader of the Black community tells me what could set off more civil unrest. And later, USA! USA! A tale of 2 campaigns. Both President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden visited Kenosha. Our reporters question the candidates when Upfront continues.